So in this video, we want to figure out how to update the button's text when we press the send mail button pressed function. And in order to do so, we first need to hook up our button as an IB outlet, right? We've only added a label and two text fields. And with this IB action, so we have no way we can really change our button. We could use the sender argument, but we're going to practice hooking up a button as an IB outlet so you can see that a button can both be an IB action and an IB outlet or have these connections. So let's hold down the Alt key and press on Storyboard. And let's just quickly close out of these panels. So we have a little bit of space to see our button here. And we're going to select our button. I'm just going to move this a little bit to the left. And we're going to generate an IB outlet. So we're going to make sure we have our send mail button pressed, or send mail button here selected in our view. And we're going to go ahead and control drag to our view controller. We're going to drop this right below our last IB outlet. And it's going to generate an outlet connection for us. And the name is going to be mail button. And it's going to be of type UI button. And the storage type will be weak. This is the same settings we've used for our previous properties. And we can connect this up. And now we have an additional IB outlet. And we're going to be able to go back to single view here. Let's open back up our panels. And we can start updating our button. Let's do this at the bottom of our function here. And we can actually update the title of our button. So we're going to say mail button, and we're going to do .set title. And this accepts a string, and we're going to say mail sent. And then it's for state UI control state. We're going to do .normal. Now, this looks a little bit different than the text property that we use to update our label, or the text property that we use to enter a message text field that we set up before. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see that we use this function set title. And this is a function, right? We're not setting it equal to something. We're not accessing a property here. We're actually using a function, but this function will actually update a property for us. Now, why do we have to go through this hoop in order to do this? Well, we see that we are able to pass in this first argument as a string, and this function happens to have arguments, right? Our previous function that we used was resign first responder, and it had these parentheses at the end. And this meant that it was a function. We also had red color here, which was also a function. But this time we have to add some elements inside of our parentheses. So these two functions did not have any arguments that we had to pass in, and this function does. And basically what we're going to do here is we're first going to tell it what the text should be updated to, and then we have a second parameter that we have to set here, and we're going to say UI control state .normal. And this is just the default control state. We could also set it to UI control state highlighted. We could also do selected. So we could have a different title if we're currently pressing down on the button or if it's currently selected. But we're just going to use the normal one, which will allow us to update the mail button's title every time we tap the button. So let's see if this works. We're going to go ahead and run our application here. Now let's go to message, and let's just enter a message, hi. And let's press send mail, and we see that mail sent now becomes the title. So we see that sometimes we have to update these properties a little bit different depending on what we're doing. So with buttons, they have this idea of state, right? Buttons are a little more complicated. They can be in just this normal state. They could be selected. They could be highlighted. We're just going to use the default normal just to keep this a little bit simpler. And we're able to update the title using this function. And that sometimes functions can have parameters, right? We don't always have to have these empty parentheses. Sometimes we're actually going to pass in information that's going to help the function do what we need it to do.